Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, it's the first semi-final in my fountain pen tournament for 2023. You've had your say, you've picked the winners from the heats. The first pen in the semi-final is the Wingsung 601. This was from heat number 1. Nice pen. The second pen from heat number 2 is the HongDian N8. Also a nice pen, both nice pens. I enjoy using both of these. Join me now down on the table. We'll take a look through the pens. We'll do some size comparisons, some weights and measures, a writing sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts on these pens before handing it over to you to vote for the winning pen. Welcome down to the table. So here we've got it. We've got our first two pens for the semi-final number 1. The first pen, so this was the winner of heat number 1. This is the Wingsung 601. Nice, simple pen. Parker 51 clone, or at least very, very heavily inspired by it. The second pen is the HongDian N8. Just going to turn this around. I do love this white colour. It's really nice. One of my future videos I'm planning, I've got a number of white pens now, so I'm going to do a comparison between white pens because I'm quite interested by them. You know, I thought they'd not look as nice as they do. Let's jump on in though, and we'll take a walk through the bodies. We'll start with the Wingsung 601. So the cap, we've got a bit of a slight conical cap. We've got a little point there. That looks like it's some kind of plastic. That comes down here into the metal of the clip. The clip, very thin, and then we come down, and to me, it's a Parker style clip. Very stiff though, I can't even get that to move. I can't get my fingers underneath it. I don't often use these in shirt pockets, so I'm not overly worried. It's a metal cap. It's tapering out until we get to about maybe a third of the way down, and then there I can actually feel it flatten out, and then we're flat all the way down to the bottom. The bottom, here we've got some Chinese characters and 601. On the back, made in China. Do you know, I really expect this to be saying Parker and made in France or made in England, somewhere, something like that. Very, very similar to that Parker. The cap, hardly noticeable step down to the body. The body, I actually like this purple colour, or maybe dark burgundy. I'm not sure how you would best describe it. Looks a little bit like red globe grapes. That's the sort of colour it reminds me of. So we're going the same width. We get to maybe 3/4 of the way down, and then it tapers down. Now this is where it's interesting. In here, you cannot see a line. I'm running my finger, I cannot feel a line, but if I twist, you can see this end cap comes off. Needs a few twists, and this was a mistake that I made in my original video, in my heat video. This isn't a piston filler, it's a pump filler. Not obviously going to do it now, but to fill the pen, you pump this up and down, and every time it comes back up, it's drawing some ink in. Quite nice, and I say it gets hidden really, really well. So well that unless you're looking for it, you don't know it's there, and I do struggle with that sometimes. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I need to actually use an eyedropper to fill this, but no, that's how you fill it. The cap is a pull-off cap. I'm not going to take the cap off. What I wanted to show you there, this pen, it does have an ink window. There we can see that. Not sure how much ink is in here now. I think there's loads still, but I can certainly see some daylight through that ink window now. With the HongDian N8. So at the top here, we've got a logo. To me, reminds me of a bird singing, but it looks like it's a bird, and that might be, I don't know if it's meant to be a leaf or a crown, something like that. That's, again, white plastic. It's got a dome. It feels ever so slightly domed. Again, we come in then into this metal clip. The clip on here, again, very, very stiff. Could be because I don't use it, so it never gets actually worn anything or loosened up. The cap, very sharp taper, only for the first maybe centimetre, then it seems to be the same width all the way down. I really like this cap. I'm just going to turn it around. It's white, but can you see these silver feathers? Let me see if I can shield this a bit from the lights. The lights are quite bright. If I can shield it so you can still see it. There we go. Maybe. Hopefully you can see there. We've got them silver feathers. The back of it at the top here, we've got a word. And due to my old man eyes, I've just had to fetch it up very close. Flying feathers. Below that flying feathers at the bottom, we've got that little bird again. So again, let me see if I can shield that. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Then coming around to the front, we've got some engraving there on the actual metal cap band. We've got N8 at the back. And there we've got HongDian. There is a noticeable drop off from the cap to the body. Remember, we didn't really see that with the Winsong 601. The body is still this white material, slightly translucent. I do like that. Let me just turn this body around. I like the little bit of patterning that we see in here. You can actually see the converter through there. I think it looks quite nice. It's about the same width until, again, about 3/4 of the way down where we start to taper. Again, as with the Winsong 601's cap, I can feel the taper starting about here. Tapers down, we've got 2 silvered rings, we've got white material there on the end finial, and then we've got a silver bottom. Now again, I'll count them in a minute. This one is a cartridge converter, so there's a cartridge in there. Now compared to Heat 2, which is what this one, I have got a different ink, very similar colour though. It's still a green ink. Right, let's compare taking the caps off. So we'll start with the Winsong 601. If I can avoid throwing it everywhere, it pulls off. The amount of times I've sat there and I've been twisting it around thinking it might twist off, no, it doesn't, it pulls off. And what I have noticed a couple of times, because I've been trying to take it off by twisting it, I've started to unscrew the section from the barrel. So just be careful of that. If you unscrew it too far, you'll end up with a very inky mess. So the section this reveals, same colour as the body, and it's revealing a hooded nib. We'll take a look at the nib in a second. Again, I like this. It looks nice. It looks very classy. With the N8. So this is a twist off. So we go half, 1, about 1.5 turns. So that's not too bad. Reveals a white section, similar in colour to the background colour of the cap and also that end finial. And we've got there a number 6 nib. And this is a number 6 HongDian nib. Let's take a closer look at the nibs. So with the Winsong, to be honest, not much you can really say about this. I'm going to say it's a fine nib. That's because it's a fine point nib. Writes really nicely. We'll see that in a few seconds. Not much you can see because you can't see it. It's a hooded nib. With the HongDian nib, so this is a silver colour. It's a steel nib. We've got a nice decorative logo at the top. Below that, we've got since 1997, then HongDian, then we've got M for medium, and then 35. Very nice nib, especially when you compare it against that essentially no nib on the Winsong 601. Let's swap on over now, and we'll do some size comparisons. So we start off with my standard size comparisons. Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari. In terms of size, when it's got the cap on, they're all very similar. You know, the Metropolitan and the Winsong 601, both thinner pens than what we see with the N8 and the Safari. Let's take the caps off. With the caps off, slightly different story. The N8 is by far the shorter of all 3 pens. Its section's shorter. Its section though is really nice to hold. Let me just fetch this up. I find this really comfortable. It's virtually the same width. There's a slight taper to it, but it fits very nicely in my hand, and I love using this unposted. Let's see if this will post. Yeah, it does, and it posts really well, really secure, but it does feel back heavy. It's not too long though, so that's a pen you could use posted. The Winston 601, it's a narrower pen. I hold my pens down near the bottom, so I do find that this is a little bit on the narrow side for me. Again, it's a nice length, even though it does feel thin. And it's another one, yes, it posts again very nice and secure, but I'm not sure. It doesn't make it too much longer, it doesn't make it too back heavy. So you could use it either posted or unposted, that's actually not an issue. Let's swap on over and we'll take a look at some pens in roughly the same price range. The pens that I brought in, these are different than what I brought in for the heats. I thought let's switch it up a bit. We've got a Moonman M600S. That was 26 Australian dollars. We've got the Winston 601, 27 Australian dollars. So price-wise, these are the two similar ones. We've got that HongDian N8, 41 Australian dollars. And I brought in a Mahjong P135, which was 45 Australian dollars. So these two are the ones that are similar in terms of price. But if I swap these around, without making a mess of my entire display, I don't know. I'm all fingers and thumbs today. There we go. That's keep knocking that HongDian off. Anyway, what I wanted to show is, I think I've got them lined up now. In terms of the shapes, the HongDian and the M600S, they are very similar shapes. Both cartridge converters, but the HongDian, that is, what, about $15 more? Not quite double the price, but certainly quite a lot more for a very similar shaped pen. Both got medium nibs as well. The P135, similar-ish in terms of shape, similar-ish in terms of colouring. And again, we're talking there about a $20 or $19 price difference. I just thought that was an interesting comparison. Let's pop the caps on these and we'll take a look at them with the caps on. I've put these back in price order. With the cap on, again, we haven't really seen a lot of difference. Maybe you'd say the Winston 601 is slightly shorter than the other three. What I do like about this is the P135. I know it's not today's pens, but I love this intricate work there on the cap. I think that looks quite nice. Not sure though if it's worth all the extra money compared to the Winston 601, but that's for a different video. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We'll start with the Winston 601. So the length of the pen, that's 13.8 centimetres. Uncapped, it's 12.8 centimetres. Posted, 15.3 centimetres. The width of the body at its widest point is 1.16 centimetres. The width of the cap, also 1.16 centimetres. The section, I measured it from here up to here. And that goes from 0.8 up to 1.17 centimetres. It is a thin pen, and as we'll see in a second, it's a fairly light pen. With the N8, we'll fetch that one in. There we go. So, length of the pen with the cap on, 13.7 centimetres. Actually ever so slightly shorter than the Winston. Unposted, that comes in at 12.3 centimetres. So that's half a centimetre shorter. Posted, we're coming in here at 16.3 centimetres. So that's 1 centimetre longer when it's posted. The width of the body at the widest point, that's 1.35 centimetres. The cap, 1.49 centimetres. The section, as I say, not a big change, but it goes 1.11 up to 1.18 centimetres. You can see that but you've got to really be looking for it. Let's swap on over and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales of weighing. You've just missed out on the fun and me going, oh dear, or well, maybe words of that ilk, but maybe not quite the oh dear type. Got this out, went to turn on the scales, the battery was flat. So I ended up having to do a mad dash around the house trying to find a new battery for it. I did find one. So we'll start off with the Wing Sun 601. 20 grams. This is what I was saying, it's fairly light. Body only, 13 grams. Cap, 7 grams. Fairly light feeling pen. The HongDian N8, 31 grams. You can really tell the difference in weight. Body only, that comes in at 18 grams. The cap, 13 grams. The weight, it is noticeable when you're writing, and for me, I prefer that weightier pen, but that's very personal. Let's swap on over and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing, Oxford optic paper. Really love this paper for my fountain pens. So we start off with the Wing Sun. So as I say, I use this unposted. It's light, but it's comfortable. So we've got a Wing Sun 601 with that fine nib. Cost wise, 27 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Diamine and it's Oxblood. I think this is a really good match for this pen. Let me just fetch the pen in there. It's a really nice ink, a nice colour to it as well. Let's do our drying times. So we go immediate. Looks very dry. Feels quite dry when I'm writing. 10 seconds. Doesn't look like a lot of difference, does it? 30 seconds. Still smudging a bit. 1 minute. After a minute there, yeah, we're nice and dry. Going to move the mic down to the page and write a sentence. That's very smooth. Very little feedback coming off that. Audible feedback, a little tiny bit. It might have been too quiet for the mic to pick up, but certainly I can hear it. But tactile feedback, there isn't that much. Line variation. So we've got no pressure. Going to add some pressure. Slightly darker, but I think that's more because the extra pressure puts down a little bit more ink. None. With, none, with, none, with, none, and with. Can't really tell the difference. And certainly with horizontal and vertical lines, again, can't really see much of a difference. Flow test. So this is going forward. And swapping over. Yep, that keeps going quite nicely. Performs really well. I say I do like the ink colour. I think it looks quite nice with this pen. Let's move the page up. And we'll do the other pen. So this is that HongDian N8. Again, nice unposted. So we've got a HongDian N8. This time we've got a medium nib. I do prefer the line with this medium nib. Cost wise, we're looking at, just got to turn my page over, 41 Aussie dollars. I turned my page over so I could see some things for what's coming up next, and I forgot how much it cost. The ink, Diamine, Sherwood green. In Heat 2, this had dominant industry forest, so I have stuck with the idea of a foresty named ink with Sherwood green. Let's look at drying times. So we go immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. After a minute, they're still smudging a little bit. Now, I'm not going to do a 2-minute test because I think we can see there a minute is still dry enough that I'd be happy turning the page over. Let's move the mic and write the sentence. I do like letting the jovial queen get her own back on the grumpy wizards. Very smooth again. I would say slightly more feedback than what I was seeing with the Winston 601, but not a lot. Certainly audibly, I could hear a little bit more coming off. Hopefully that might have been captured on the mic. And there was a definite tactile feel to it. Just move this up ever so slightly. A line variation, so with no pressure. There's some pressure. We are seeing a wider and darker line. Again, I don't think that's because of the nib flexing anything. I just think it's because there's more ink coming down. No pressure, with pressure, none, with, none, and with. Ever so slightly wider there when I've got the pressure on. Again, our horizontal and vertical lines, not much difference. Flow, there's forward. And there's the other direction. Keeping up really well. Again, I like writing with this pen. Let me just fetch in the other pen. I'm just going to move this down as well, so we can get a bit of the writing of both and a little bit of a view of both the pens. So what are my thoughts on these pens? I'm going to start with pen looks. If we look at the pens together, you can see definitely we've got a thinner pen here with that Winston 601. But it looks classy. I think that's because the heritage, I believe it's a Jinhao 51. Definitely a classy looking pen. Whereas with this HongDian, it's a wider pen. I personally prefer the colour. I like this white colour. I like the translucency. But certainly, if I was going to meetings, yes, I'd be happy to take the N8, but I'd be more comfortable with the Winston 601. Build quality. I've had the N8 now about 6 months. I've had the 601 about 2 years. But to be honest, I don't often ink up the 601. So in terms of usage, I filled it maybe 6 or 7 times, and I've filled the N8 again roughly 6 or 7 times. Had no problems with either. The caps come off quite nicely. Nice and smooth mechanism there. Had no problems with this piston or this pump. I do like here the way that when you've got them together, you cannot see the seam. You've got to really, really look hard to see that. Slight concern that when I sometimes am twisting the cap instead of pulling it off, that I'm unscrewing the section from the rest of the body. So that's something I need to be aware of. But it's nice. No issues with either of them. Writing experience, well, we've seen here on the Oxford Optic paper. Let me just fetch in this. Here we've got 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. So here with the Winston 601. Looks nice. No issues with skipping, no issues with hard starts. Writes really well. Again, no issues with flow. If we jump forward, here we've got, let me just move that page marker. The HongDian with Sherwood green. Love the colour of this. Again, I'm calling out here, it's very smooth. Very little feedback. Both pens, very little feedback. I love the green ink. I actually like the green ink with this white. I think it looks quite nice. Did have down here when I was doing my pressure tests, a little bit of railroading. But remember to do these tests, I am putting pressure on, so I do excuse that. Again, no issues with the flow. Both nice writers, both really nice smooth nibs. I say, for me, I would have liked some feedback, but that's just a personal choice. Ink flow, again, no issues. I would say the HongDian N8, that is a little bit of a wetter writer. You know, we could have possibly done the 2-minute test, but just be aware of that. You know, with the Wingsun 601, we were definitely dry there at a minute. In fact, we're nearly dry there at 30 seconds. I've noticed that with no matter what ink I've got in here, it seems to be nice and wet. Comfort. This pen, the 601, it's a bit thin in the hand. Whereas the N8, with that extra little bit of width, feels really comfortable. If I was to complain about the N8, I'd have liked to have seen a bit more of a concave section here, just because I hold my pens down at the bottom, and I think a concave section would have been a bit more comfortable to use. But I'm being very, very picky here with these pens. Value for money, $27 for this Wingsun 601, or 27 Aussie dollars when I bought it. It's a nice writer. It's not an exciting pen, but I think for $27, that's quite good value. The N8, $41, so nearly double the price. Is it double the pen? Personally, I think it is. I think the medium nib, whereas the 601, because of the hooded nib, it's only a fine. I think the line we're getting from it, I think the extra comfort does make it quite good value. The only thing I would say with the N8, I wish it had the piston filler that the N7 has. So the N7 essentially to me is the baby sibling of this pen, and it has a piston filler, but they've gone for a cartridge converter here. Put the piston filling in here, I think you'll have a near perfect pen. So they are my thoughts on the Wingsun 601 and the HongDian N8. Now it's over to you. Which one do you think should be the winner? Head on over to my YouTube community page. So in there you'll find a poll, and then pick which one that you want to win for this semi-final and go forward to the actual final. The winner will be announced 1 week today. It will be announced on a YouTube live. I've been doing those roughly 8:30 in the morning Western Australia time on a Sunday. So that's what we'll be targeting. So 1 week's time, come on back, 8:30 in the morning WA time. I know that because of time zones, that's not very convenient for a number of people. But we'll hang out. I try to hang out for between half an hour to an hour. We'll talk about a couple of topics. We'll have a general chat. I love the lives and I love the interactivity. I love the way we get the comments so I can actually react to the comments in real time. So, talk to you then. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Which of the pens do you think should be the winner? Head on over now to the community tab on my YouTube page where you'll see the poll where you can pick the winner. I only take the votes that are recorded on the poll. If you put a comment saying you want one pen or the other to win, unfortunately, unless you've gone and voted on the poll, that doesn't count. Please drop any comments you have though down below. I'd love to get your comments on these pens, your thoughts as well as your vote for the winning pen. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.